Hello world, welcome to the 254th climate change emergency protest. It is October 5th, 2023. I just did a broadcast and of course this thing didn't work right as usual. This second week in a row that's happened. So I'll try again to do the broadcast. So this is October 5th, 2023. This is number 254. Next week will be climate change protest number 255. That'll be on October 13th. And that'll be number 255. So I want to show you this chart I have. I've showed it before. It's a table of catastrophe, and I'll explain in a minute what's going on. So this is a TikTok chart. This is the International Climate Change Table of Catastrophe, which I came up with. And this is the degree of catastrophe that is going to come our way or is happening now. Right now we're basically on 4, okay, up here. But what's coming our way as soon as we get into climate change severely due to El Nino and all, we're going to be at 1.5 degrees or higher. So you're going to have a climate change catastrophe level at 32. And then we're headed towards a 2, probably next year, which will probably be around 512, somewhere in there. 512 or 1,024 times worse than what we're experiencing now, the level of catastrophes. So we're in for a hellscape. And I talked about this a minute ago, but it obviously did not work. So hopefully everything's working out now. So the table of catastrophe, you have the tipping points. Okay, things are happening faster than what we think. Every tipping point affects another tipping point, affects another tipping point. And we have a super El Nino coming up in 2024. Will we return ever back to normal? Most likely not. And can we ever stop the tipping points when they happen? Once they happen, no. So we're hitting unprecedented territory as to what's happening and what's going to happen. The 1.5 degree barrier that was agreed to at the United Nations conference in 2015 is going to be passed. That's where we're headed right now. We're most likely approaching 2 degrees Celsius, and the significance is that a lot of things will change severely. Your life is going to change forever. My life is going to change forever. So we're into a massive problem right now, what's going on. They did a study this year on Phoenix, Arizona. They said that had the electricity gone down, half the population would have ended up in the hospital and 13,000 people would have died instead of the 200 people that they attribute, which is way higher than that actually. So in other words, the Northern Hemisphere industrialized countries are surviving based on technology right now. And if the technology goes down, most likely it will. If the temperatures go up, we're in big trouble. If trade discontinues, then you starve to death. Towns like New York City are cut off, basically. They have bridges coming into the town to feed them and railroads and things like that. If that stops, then they're done for. You got 13 million people there. Same with any other big town. Can't survive. So what's approaching with the El Nino? The effects we're feeling right now are as a result of aerosol masking effect being reduced. So you're having shipping, which is cleaning up their act, and with their fuels and everything, less sulfur going in the atmosphere, less masking, the sun's hitting the ground and the oceans more, and that's why you're seeing this big change in heat. The El Nino hasn't even kicked in, the super El Nino was coming, and hasn't even kicked in yet. My estimate is April, May, June, somewhere in there. You're going to see some massive changes going on throughout the whole world, and it's not going to be pleasant. So we're months away from our lives changing forever. And, this town is not ready for what's coming. They haven't hardened up at all. I've done many talks about it. I've shown greenways they could do, things like that, dig up some of the roads. They're not going to do it. And the town's going to overheat. They don't have the tax money. They don't have the desire. They don't have the forward thinking as to what's coming. They have no idea what's coming. I've been telling them what's coming, and I look hysterical, but it won't be so in a few months. And the United States, for example, has no money left over. They're spending all their money on military, which is $1 trillion a year. They're spending, the world is spending $19 billion a day on fossil fuel subsidies, things like that. So it's nuts what's happening, and our thought process isn't there, and the leaders in charge of the United States and around the world aren't doing the things that need to be done to have us survive. They're still drilling, mining, doing whatever they need to do, and or they feel they have to do, and it's not the case. They need to stop the fossil fuel subsidies. They need to get off of the fossil fuel in general altogether. They need to stop spending money and having wars and things like that. If you're spending money on wars, you have no thought process about saving ourselves. We need to work together as a group of countries. The whole world needs to, in order to survive. We're literally going to go extinct. All life on Earth is going to go extinct at this pace at where we're going. This is we're going 1,000 to 10,000 times the original background rate of what you'd expect basic extinctions to happen. Meaning things are dying, extinctions are happening 10,000 times greater than ever before. And this is the fastest extinction rate ever. In the previous 5 extinctions, the rate of extinction has never happened like this on this scale before. That's how fast we're going through this. And you say I'm full of it? Yeah, go look it up. It's a fact. So we're in big trouble. And I'm going to go from being angry or upset or trying to cajole everyone to get going on this path to a path of compassion, because at some point it's over. And if we don't get our program together, and this next president coming up for the United States, it's going to be out of control before then. President Biden has to get this under control now. The Congress has to get on board with climate change. And they're seeing it down south and in the west and things like that. And in the east too, northeast. You're seeing things happen, but they're still not attributing it to climate change and how bad things are going to get. They're not extrapolating because the population won't extrapolate. They're not extrapolating because the media won't report on it, the truth as to what's happening. They won't attribute things to climate change. They'll report about events, but they won't attribute the event as part of climate change and what's going to happen. They'll have experts about Taylor Swift come in or other people, or other stupid things like the gymnasts and things like that. But they won't study climate change. They won't report on it because it's upsetting to too many people. It's not politically expedient. Well, what's not expedient is dying. And we're going to all start seeing people that we know that have suffered immensely from climate change. And this will be a guarantee. By next June, July, you're going to know someone who's been severely affected by climate change. So these are tipping points, and all the king's horses and all the king's men cannot stop these tipping points from ever happening again. Once they get going, one tipping point affects another tipping point, and then they go away and they never come back again. So it's a tipping point. So it starts rolling down the hill, and then another tipping point starts rolling down the hill. Then another tipping point starts rolling down the hill. You'll never get it back again. So our lives are going to change. We need to, the fault is you, me, and all of our friends and family keep voting for these people in charge, then you can't do it. Their policies are murderous policies. They're going to kill us. So I'll catch you next week. That'll be number 255. Please get it together and realize something's happening and do something before it's way, way too late.